All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Surviving and advancing in the postseason as we put the wild card round in the books in Major League Baseball. But who is going to survive the ALDS in order to get to the ALCS? Want to start off with the fifth seed Seattle Mariners taking on the number one seed Houston Astros. And obviously, there is plenty of familiarity with both of these clubs, being that they play each other 19 times in the American League West. But you look at this Mariners team right now, and for me, they're playing with house money. This is Seattle's first trip to the postseason since 2001. They went on the road in a hostile environment in Toronto. They won those two games. We saw that big comeback by the M's in game number two. And they're rolling right now, and they got to feel good about themselves. You think about the youngster and Julio Rodriguez really pacing things in this M's lineup, but then you look at their pitching. It wasn't as sharp in game two, but it was sharp enough in game number one over Toronto to get things done. And for the series, you're going to have Logan Gilbert taking the bump for Seattle in game number one, going up against the crafty veteran in Justin Verlander. So it's going to be interesting to see how Seattle gets started right there. But then behind Gilbert, you got to worry about the likes of Robbie Ray, who didn't have his best stuff in game number two against Toronto. And then, of course, a youngster like George Kirby. Where is he going to fit in with this pitching staff in this series? Now, on the flip side, are the defending American League champions and the Houston Astros ready for another run? We've seen in recent years the Astros lose key players in free agency, but they keep rolling along. The Astros finished with the best record in the American League this year. And now, for anybody who wants to get to the World Series from the AL side, more than likely they're going to have to go through Houston to get it done. I talked about Justin Verlander. A guy like Framber Valdez is somebody else to keep an eye on for this rotation, coming out of this rotation, rather, in this series. You have veterans like Altuve and Bregman who continue to get it done. But then a guy to keep an eye out for is Jordan Alvarez and the season that he has had for Houston. And also keep an eye out for Kyle Tucker, as well as somebody like Trey Mancini, who was picked up just prior to the trade deadline. It was one of those moves where, you know what, it kind of fell under the radar. But you know what? The bottom line is he went out there and he was a big part of everything for the Houston Astros since joining. And the bottom line is this team is definitely looking good as far as trying to get back to the World Series. You look at the managers. You got Scott Service for Seattle and Dusty Baker for the Scott Service for the Mariners, rather, excuse me, against Dusty Baker for the Astros. And I mean, Dusty Baker has been a big league manager for so long. You think back, Scott Service was playing while Dusty Baker was managing. So that gives you an idea right there. I think for Seattle, it's kind of like what it is with most of these teams who don't have home field advantage. You definitely want to go out there and steal a game. But regardless, the city of Seattle is going to be rocking for game number three. You're talking about the Mariners' first home playoff game in 21 years. That place is going to be rocking. So the Astros know, yeah, they've been there a lot during the regular season, but that is going to be a very hostile environment come game three. Who has the edge? Definitely with the experience and kind of just like the been there, done that with the know with all for it. You got to give that edge to the Houston Astros, and I think you're going to see that edge play out during this series. And I'm going to take Houston to advance in 4 games. Now, the other series, you're going to have a 3 seed, the Cleveland Guardians, the champions of the AL Central, taking on the 2 seed, the New York Yankees, champions of the American League East. And for the Guardians, they are hot right now, one of the hottest teams in baseball heading into the playoffs. They finally were able to seize control of the American League Central coming down the stretch. It was so tight throughout with Cleveland, the White Sox, and Minnesota, but Cleveland finally got a hold of it, and now they've put that behind them. Took care of Tampa Bay in 2 games, two tightly contested games. Of course, we saw Cleveland winning on a walk-off in the 15th inning in game number two. But this Indians team is definitely feeling good about themselves under manager Terry Francona. You look at game number one against the Yankees tomorrow night, and you got Cal Quantrill going up against Garrett Cole, two solid starters, and it's going to be interesting to see which of these pitchers cracks first. And for Garrett Cole, his last trip to the postseason was not a good one, as you know he was a big reason why the Yankees lost the wild card game to the Boston Red Sox last year at Fenway. So I expect Garrett Cole to come back and respond and have one of the better outings in his career in game one for the Yankees tomorrow night in the Bronx. You look at this Cleveland lineup with the likes of Ahmed Rosario, Jose Ramirez, Andres Jimenez, and Oscar Gonzalez, two young guys that you have to keep an eye on. As this is a very young Guardian team, but they're playing with a lot of confidence. We talked about Cal Quantrill in that rotation. Shane Bieber is going to get the bump for Cleveland in game number two, which means more than likely Tristan McKenzie is going to get it in game three when this series shifts to Cleveland. The Guardians have one of the better relievers closing out games for them in the ninth inning, and Emmanuel Clase, and that's always important because bullpen help and pitching in general are always big come the postseason. Now, on the flip side for the Yankees, is this the year that things come together for them? The Yankees continue to be a consistent playoff team, and it's been that way for the last 30 years. But their last World Series championship, their last trip to the World Series in general, you got to go back to 2009. And of course, the people that follow this organization, people that follow this franchise, that's far too long for them in their eyes. Now, I talked about Garrett Cole, but then Nestor Cortez is going to get the ball for the Yankees in game number two. He's been a solid lefty in this rotation throughout the year. And you know what? I don't think the postseason stage will phase him. Jameson Taillon is somebody else to keep an eye out for in this rotation heading into this series, as it's going to be interesting to see who steps up in this pitching staff for the Yankees. The Yankee bullpen, that's going to be key too. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're not. So let's see what the Yankees can do with that unit in this series. We know about Aaron Judge and his 62 home runs, but the bottom line is when you play for the Yankees and you're a big bopper, it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. He could have hit 80 home runs, but if he doesn't come up big in this series for this team, that's all the people are going to remember him by. But I will say this. Judge is a big reason why the Yankees are here right now because he carried this team throughout the year. And it's going to be interesting to see who steps up around him and gives him that support. Gleyber Torres is a guy to always keep an eye out for. Anthony Rizzo knows a thing or two about winning in the postseason. You got DJ LeMahieu. Giancarlo Stanton really doesn't hit for average, but he's still a guy that, you know what, if he gets a hold of one, he could put it out there in the bleachers really quick at Yankee Stadium. You think about it with Terry Francona, he's an ageless wonder in regards to managing. Cleveland had so much success over the years with the Boston Red Sox as well, going up against Aaron Judge and pardon me, Aaron Boone. Excuse me about that. Got the right first name, just the wrong last name. But nonetheless, Boone has gotten the Yankees to the playoffs every year that he's been a manager. Now let's see if he can finally break through and get to the World Series. Who has the edge? This right here, for me, I think this is the most even matchup in all of the divisional round. This right here is a classic toss-up because the thing is, Cleveland ain't going away. And the Yankees themselves have a very good team. I think this is going to be nip and tuck, a little margin for error on both sides from both of these clubs heading into this series. But I'm going to give the nod to the Yankees as I see them advancing past Cleveland in 5 games. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.